Hey, time to get going, I suppose. Integral theory for hackers. My name is Sami. Great to see you all. My first disobey was last year, so this is the second one. And I just thought that it's kind of wow to be here presenting now, second time around. And this morning when I got here, I started to think of those, those t-shirts like I went to Paris and all I got was this lousy t-shirt. And it came to my mind that, well, I went to disobey and all I got was this presentation. Which is great. Of course, it's wonderful to... We all know how great the event is, and I thought I would dedicate my own talk, which is kind of exciting, of course, being like a noob here anyway, to all of you who might think that you have nothing meaningful or worthwhile to say to others. Yes, you do. I believe we all do. And I know there's a lot of great presenters here, but if you feel like you have nothing to say, this goes to you. Well, this talk is about something called the integral theory, which is usually known or linked to a guy called Ken Wilber. Now, I don't see you a lot because there's a lot of lighting there, but can you still raise your hands if you've heard of this guy before? Has any of you heard of this guy before? Oh, yeah. Well, it's not like the majority, so this is kind of interesting. If you go out and Google him, you will find out that this thing has been applied in many sectors like management, and there's a lot of psychology and things involved, but apparently not that common for the hacker community, which is kind of, it might be a good, worthwhile idea to bring it here then. It's kind of like a framework, and I was interested in how we might use it as a tool. Basically, that's the idea. And this will be a people talk, because I was really scared of the demo effect, so there will be no demo for me. A bit of tech still, a couple of examples, but still I hope this will be like a people or society talk, those kinds of things. And of course, first we'll see what it's about and then tinker around with this kind of thinking a little bit. And if you think that's like the logo of Bitcoin or something, I'm really sorry about that. It was just what PowerPoint gave me. This will not be like promoting cryptocurrency, I'm sure. Well, my name is Who Am I, like a lot of us. I have a lot of cousins here. I guess why I chose this topic for the talk is that my first 4 decades of my life, I've been mostly focusing on what it's like to be like a human being and how society works and why we're here in the first place. So very, like, not the kind of the regular disobey or software development path. And when I mention development, for most of my life, if you mention development, I would start to think of like the United Nations Development Program or something to do with like underprivileged people in the global south or something, not anything to do with like C++, SDKs or anything like that. So now we're going into sort of like the language game thinking that this talk will also delve into. Well, then I pivoted into business and tech. I sort of kind of wanted to see what else is there in life, and I had my own business for a while, and now for the last 5 years I've been heavily involved with learning cyber. But I'm still, for a long time I thought I was kind of like a newbie. Now I've been employed officially for 2 years now in cyber, so I guess, or information security. I think that's what I'm doing now. So I guess I could be called a specialist already. And I work for Valtori, which is the government ICT center here in Finland. And if you're more interested in what Valtori does, I suggest you go and look for the for last year's presentations, we had an excellent presentation there of two of my colleagues there. I am also a recovering doctoral student, and I have passed my CISP exam, but I can't call myself a CISP yet because I don't have enough, many years yet, and my bachelor's thesis was on zero trust, so there's maybe some kind of credibility check there that I've also been thinking of these issues. But let's go to this integral thing then. It was not that familiar to you. This is interesting. But if you go and check it out, what people often say, it's like the theory of everything, the sum total of human knowledge, things like that. Okay, and now we're talking about not believing the hype here, and that's kind of makes you wary. Okay, you gotta be careful. This can't be happening. And I think I have an issue with all this marketing talk of this changes everything, whatever. AI changes everything. A couple of years ago, blockchain was supposed to change everything. I doubt any of these technologies change everything, but that sort of has led me to think of any outside-the-box tools, like in the security industry. We might want to go into more like the different disciplines or paradigms to see if we can find any benefit from there. Since we're dealing with a lot of things, as we all know, one thing that has struck me recently quite a bit is cognitive warfare, which is like one of the newest domains of warfare in the world, where our minds are really being worked on, as we all know, and this we all know what this means in practice with deep fakes and AI and everything, but it's maybe a justification for why I think we need to look at the human factor maybe from different angles, various angles, to cope even in our field. How Mr. Wilber himself has described this word integral. It means something that's comprehensive, it's inclusive, non-marginalizing, embracing, okay? Including many perspectives, styles, methodologies to any field. And now we're trying to apply it to our field here. Still maintaining a coherent view of the topic, hopefully. It's about growth patterns of growth, which is kind of, you have to look at it from a very broad angle here, from very growth in any issue. We always start from very simple, tiny things, basic things, then we go to very complex systems and ecosystems and so on. And what this way of thinking is about, it's about merging development models from many major fields of study, like human psychology, history, cultures, all of those. And why these are important, we will mix them with IT and our digital world, and that's what's supposed to make sense. And if it sounds too obvious, you can just Google things like AQAL map, which stands for all quadrants, all levels, and you'll see that it's not simple at all. But okay, I'm trying to go a little bit deeper to this way of thinking. There's a couple of, like, it's a huge topic, and I'm just like choosing a couple of things from the vast ocean of how this thinking is described, which is used in many other fields. But how does stuff exist? According to this line of thinking, well, they speak of holons, which whole refers to whole, something that's like a whole thing in itself. A holon is something that's independent. It's there as such, but like the lower levels are controlled by higher levels, and we can have the analogy of a human organism. We have the atom, we have the molecule level, the cell organ, and then like a human being level, an individual that makes us who we are, okay? Like on a physical sense. And then we go to the mindset, and that gets things more complicated. And then we go to organizations and enterprises and societies. And this, already we try to think of this in the context of defense, offense, security, all of these, what this might mean for this work. Some levels are fundamental, the lower ones, you can't do without them. Others are significant for a given purpose. And here I could have an example. For example, let's think of a laptop here, like a basic computer. We have the CPU here, and that would be like the fundamental thing. You can't have a laptop without a CPU. But then, if you want to go online, you need the web browser. Okay, that's the significant part for this purpose. But it's difficult to do without the CPU. So that's like it's like a layered approach a lot. And I also compare this to the OSI model. We know from the physical up to the network stack up to the application layer, and it sort of resonates quite easily with that too. Okay, that was one way of looking at this integral thing. Another angle is something called spiral dynamics, and this is a very complex thing. I'm not going into this a lot, because this has to do with the whole human history, basically. If you're interested, it might be fun, but it's not like our topic here on Disabay. But basically, what it means that we start from this very simple, like also a very simple way of thinking, like magical thinking. We can also emphasize power, dominion over others, like on these lower levels. We are now in like the red level there. Survival, egoism, and we might apply how we feel about these things. For example, in a threat scenario, or any kind of when we have to defend a system or anything like that, we might operate on this level. We go higher up, we might appreciate money, power, order, those kinds of things, which usually, and we can also apply those to like societies. This is we can apply this on so many levels. Apply this to societies and what is appreciated even in geopolitics. We go higher up, we might appreciate more diversity. Like in cyber nowadays, we have a lot of groups that bring more diversity to the table, which is great, I think. But if that's like the be-all and end-all, maybe that's even not the highest level. In this thinking, if we go up to the yellow level there, we speak of something called like second-tier thinking, where truth is like you have truth in all the different the previous phases, and that's you appreciate many of them. Okay, now we are almost done with what it's about, and we'll go to the application bit very quickly. We also talk a lot of something called quadrants. We have 4 quadrants here. The upper right is like the individual interior part, and that's basically how we approach any phenomenon. I have an example, the Disabay puzzle. If you try to solve it, you remember the good old Ahven campaign, and those are just a couple of pictures. What went through if you try to solve it, you have to go through some. Well, I think that's Audacity, yeah. and then you have the Cobos telecom issues and all that's from the walkthrough. But we can apply these quadrants to a scenario like this. You have your own feelings, the upper left quadrant, what goes on inside you. Then the upper right is the exterior individual part, how you look, how others see you, and there's a lot of like behavior, how you behave during something like that. And then the lower left is the group interior, how society, how communities, for example, see themselves. The Disobey community, for example, sees we have this team spirit, or any city-sec community, those kinds of things. And then the last one is about the external, like very broad topics like legislation and norms and so on. Right. Well, there's not that much like application yet, so we might need some more proof. I have two cases here. Just I picked some regular nice cases I took from YouTube. We tried to illustrate this theory from different angles. The first one is having some Wi-Fi fun with Wi-Fi passwords, and I took this from John Hammond, whom I appreciate and I like a lot. So there's a video from a couple of weeks ago, if you'd like to have a look at that. And the basic thing here is that, okay, we know that if you're a Windows user, you have this nice feature that if you go to the command line and type net sh and da, and you, as the name, my dear Wi-Fi name, you just use whatever SSID you have there and Wi-Fi you're using, and key equals clear, and press enter. Well, that shows you the clear text Wi-Fi password. So if you're on a rogue computer and you just know what the name of the Wi-Fi network is, and you do that, you get it right there. And that's bad. And I hope any pen testers and other people educate about this and how to get rid of this. But what John Hammond does is he acknowledges that in a pen test, this would not be a good strategy to do if you just type the command netsh and everything. Any EDR would likely detect it, because there's you have the child netsh process, and that will spawn a child process, or you do some Python bundling or something like that. So this would be not the best strategy. So what he does is he uses some Win32 API functions, and he writes some Rust code, compiles to exe, and then avoids detection. Well, I don't do that, but it's just a case to illustrate how we could use the integral theory to see this phenomenon from these four angles. You could have the individual interior angle. Maybe you knew this already. These are like your emotions at the moment. Or you could say, oh, that was cool. Or you don't care because it's the year of the Linux desktop anyway. Or the collective interior. Maybe if you're a red teamer, you think, oh, we could use that in your next assignment. Or an adversary could also acknowledge this very well. Oh, we could apply this. And the right-hand side is about what happens outside, what other people see. And maybe it would be something, if you want to experience this further, you create an artifact, your own development of this, and you publish that on GitHub, and that would be like the individual exterior manifestation of this thing. And collectively, these things usually bring about many new artifacts and so on, and also new attacks. Another case, I'm running out of time, apparently. This is a bypassing BitLocker. This has been in the news for the last days, so I'm referring to a creator called Stack Smashing, and this illustrates the historical or human growth perspective of the theory. First, if you're like part of the general public, you know that you have a computer, you should encrypt your volume. Okay, you do what you're told and you turn BitLocker on. And you improve from there to the next stage. You should use better passwords or PINs. You do what the company policy says. And then you learn that the BitLocker is actually better with a trusted platform module. So you go to the hardware side. Of course, hardware is better. And then what Stack Smashing does is he shows us how the TPM works. You have like registers that get updated via something called measurements. And then this is like the individual growth process, like what we do a lot of time. We might find out that the communications are in plain text, so the key can be sniffed in between, and then we might Google some more and learn how things work on the main board. We can learn some details with a logic analyzer, and what he did, he designed a Raspberry Pi Pico sniffer for $10, and that was like to illustrate that it's not actually that difficult. Well, maybe we all don't know how to write C firmware, but we have that artifact at our disposal, and in that sense, it makes it a lot easier. Then what he did was he moved the SSD physically to a Linux DOS box and used disklocker, and then he could decrypt the drive. And this was based on a previous idea. This goes to illustrate that there's always a history behind these things. We have research papers. This is from more than 10 years ago. And like in all cases, there are usually, someone has done it before, maybe a slight adjustment, like this was a WithSecure application of how the BitLocker key could be extracted from 4 years ago. I know you know so much more, you have experience of so many more issues, but I think usually, in general now we're dealing with AI and other things, and I think a good bet is to look a lot inwards to our psychological self and back, which means history, what other fields have come up with, and then maybe a lot to left and right to places where we might not have been before. The next slide I will skip. But I'm proposing, have a look at this, break it down. You might merge some paradigms in new ways. If you have a moment, you can apply it to some other top talks you have here, and if you want to, you find something interesting, just let me know. I want to end this with the inevitable joke. I asked GPT-4 about a joke for this conference about this topic, and what he said was, why did the hacker refuse to break into Ken Wilber's integral theory database? Because every time they thought they found a vulnerability, it turned out to be just another layer of consciousness, and they realized they were hacking themselves all along. And let's let that sink in. I have 8 seconds. Thank you.